So for the final puzzle, we can either use a frozen monkey or a slice of purple cheese. What do you think?
Is it outside or inside?
That's mostly outside. Oh no, wait, it's inside.
Oh, okay. Hmm. Then I would go for the cheese. I think the monkey would melt inside.
Good thinking. Okay, so let's see. We're gonna go for the cheese, and the monkey's gonna go away, and then this should go here. Yeah. Okay, we're done. We're finally done.
Yes, finally!
Oh my god. Let's show everybody what we made.
Yes, I cannot wait.
Oh my god. Hey everybody,
Everybody left?
well, why would they leave?
Maybe we've been silent for too long?
Nonsense. We've only been silent for for how long exactly?
Well, it's been 7 months.
7 months.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Oh my god. All this time.
Hey, but there's still one light blinking on the panel.
Whoa, really? What does it mean?
It means at least somebody is still watching.
Oh. Oh! Oh my god! We need to show the viewer what happened! Oh my god! We need to get things together! Where's the binder? Where's the external drive? Where's my USB stick?
I want to see sharp script.
Wait, what? I think you have your weapon? Like,
I'm still looking. Hold on.
oh, where? I might have a bucket of C-sharp scripts, I think.
Dang it.
Oh no, wait. There's some beans. Where did my drawings go? Where are my... Hello and welcome to the development of Beyond the Darkness. As you guys noticed, it's been a while, but let's see where we left off last time. I think last time we showed you guys a video where we introduced Libor as a voice actor, and of course that's was very exciting for all of us. And we cannot show you too much, of course, but what happened after that, because we had Valentine's video and we had the Libor video, and that's about it. But we spent some time on the project itself. We had pretty much a base for the game, a foundation. We decided to, you know, work out the small problems we had, fix the minor things we had to fix, make everything ready for the next step. And of course that took some while as well. So after the foundation was done, we decided to change things a little bit around, and it was more than just a little bit. It was quite a big step for the project. So Michael, what exactly did happen?
Yes. Before we talk about the future of Beyond the Darkness, I'm going to talk briefly about the changes we have made to the game over the spring and the summer. As we were in the middle of wrapping up level 1 and starting on level 2, we started running into a few complications. And I decided it was time to make some drastic changes. So I've got a few notes here. I've got 5 notes that I want to quickly go over.
Okay.
And the first one is about the player. So we have a complete new player for the game. Yes, it's still Nicholas, but it all works differently. We always use the default Unity first-person controller, and maybe in our previous videos, you have seen us literally bump into objects. And maybe you also remember the video where we had problems with the drawers. Basically, this default controller had problems detecting collision, and it just didn't feel right. So now we have a brand new player system, and we still need to tweak the settings, but it all feels more naturally. The second point has to do with coding, mainly Unity script versus C#. We started out on Unity script, which is based on JavaScript, and this was slightly easier for me because I come from the world of web development. However, we were also using some third-party assets in the game, and they were coded in C#. So there can be a lot of miscommunication between these two languages because Unity starts to compile the C# first. And because we also ran into some Unity script limitations, I decided to rewrite every single Unity script code we had in the whole game. And now the whole game works in C#.
Yeah, that was quite some work, I guess.
I don't want to do it again.
Let's do it again. No, yeah.
No. The third point are prefabs. So before, after we created an object, let's say a door, and we wanted to use this door again. What we did is we just copy and paste this door all over the place, and we would do that to every single object in the game. And the main issue here comes into play when we want to tweak this door. So let's say we want to change the look of the door, so we have to change the texture of the door. We would have to do that for each and every door in the game. And now everything works with prefabs. So we only have to modify a single door in the game, click the apply button, and all the doors in the game have that new texture.
Yeah, it's like they're all copies and they're all related to one single door.
Yes, exactly.
So they're all connected.
The fourth point are the levels. We started out having a level per scene. And what we didn't know at the time is that for the Unity engine, it's very heavy to load new scenes. So right now, what we did is every single level we create is going to be a prefab, meaning the game can check which chapter you're in and hide all the other levels you're currently not playing.
But do you think that putting everything into one project instead of separated levels would be heavier for the system than having separated chunks? But it's actually not.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's it really.
It's wow. Yeah, and it's for us. It's way easier because we have everything available for us.
Yeah, indeed. All right, and the fifth point, the final point, is about the managers. So we used to have two cubes in our world, one called game settings and one called player settings. And the game settings cube contained information about things like the interface, cameras, controls, and the player settings had information about the lantern, fear, inventory, basically everything about the player. And then we also had single objects, such as a clock. And a clock would have a sound it will play, for example.
Yeah.
And now we have all the managers. So first there's the game manager. And everything in the game needing information has to basically call the game manager first. And below this manager, we have other managers. So we have a level manager, we have a sound manager, we have a player manager, and a lot more managers than that. So let's say we want a clock to play a certain sound when the player is nearby. So when the player is nearby, the clock will call the game manager, and the game manager will forward the clock to the sound manager. And then the sound manager will then tell the clock which sound the clock has to play.
But that sounds like more steps than just putting a sound on the clock.
Yes, so exactly the question is, how exactly does this benefit us?
Yeah.
In the old way, when the player was walking in level 1 and something scary happened, we had to save how much fear the player had before he would load level 2. And the problem was that the player settings cube would be reset when we loaded level 2. And there are some workarounds for it, but it just wasn't ideal. So now the player actually carries the fear with him. The fear is constantly communicating with the player manager, because the player manager tells what the actual fear is. Another example, in the past, we had multiple doors, and I wanted to add a sound to all the doors. And I really had to go door by door and tweak every single door. And now that we work with the prefabs, that problem is solved. But also, when needed, the sound manager tells the door which sound to play. So essentially, the whole game is now one scene with all the levels in it, and every object in the game that needs information can call the managers for help. So the managers store all the information, and whenever we need to change something, we simply change the information the managers hold.
Yeah. So it sounds, we call them managers, but they're actually little scripts, little pieces of coding. Let's call them tiny programs.
Yes, exactly.
And you should visualize them as actual people who are managers. And you say to one guy, like, okay, you with the headphones, you're in charge of all the sounds. And when I want to change like one sound, I'm gonna talk to you, and you're gonna make sure that every sound in the entire game for every door will be updated. So that guy will handle it, and you can see exactly. You can talk to the manager, to the sound manager, like, hey, what sound do all the doors have, by the way? And he will say like, oh, that's like door sound 7.mp3 or whatever, WAV. And then we can say, oh, that's cool, or we got a new update for that. Maybe you should use this sound, and then everything will be updated. But we as developers are only talking to that one guy who takes care of the sound, and everything will have its own guy. We have a sound guy, and we have, what else do we have? Like the fear is actually kind of
that's part of the player now. That's part of the player manager.
So he will take care of the fear, and when we ask like, hey, how much fear do we have right now, he will constantly check it for us. And in the like before we had this, we had to do this by ourselves and for every single object.
So it was really the right time to completely restructure the whole game.
Yeah, that is true.
And these were all much needed technical changes. But there's more. Sirio and I started talking about Beyond the Darkness, and we at least spent 24 hours, I think, over at least 10 sessions, and we did a lot of decision making and brainstorming. Sirio, tell us about the new concept.
Alright, so as some of you might know, Version 1 of Beyond the Darkness contained 25 chapters, and some chapters were really big and some were really small. And some of them were not really chapters, more like cutscenes or that kind of things. That's because we were focused on testing and building and getting experience with the engine. But yeah, all these chapters were spread out over a long storyline. We had the introduction of the game written out in detail, but the actual storyline was kind of vague. It was more like, oh, you know, we have an intro here and we will have some kind of puzzle over there, and well, we have maybe a scary moment over here, and we'll see about the rest. There will be some items that you can collect, but we made a list about 2 years ago, and well, we'll see where we put those items. And after years of experimenting and building on a foundation of the game, we saw that the amount of work for 2 people was getting a little bit too much. And the same goes for the pile of notes we had. They were a little bit too vague to keep working with them and in the long run. We kind of did our best to document everything, but we were just missing some kind of structure, and it felt like we were not 100% sure about the details. So things had to change at one point. Now in the meantime, I also have been busy with other things. like hosting RPG games with some friends, and for those I wrote little stories and created little puzzles, and I also created a roadmap for the players. Well, more for me as a game master, but it was more so I could see where exactly in the storyline we were and what kind of things were coming or were lying ahead. And this gave me a lot of control over the overview, about what needs to happen, what needs to be prepared, and so I decided to use this same system for the preparation of Beyond the Darkness 2.0. And we started doing having some meetings, and well, 24 hours in meeting time later, we came up with this. Beyond the Darkness will no longer have 25 chapters that are really big, small, or not even chapters. We will have 6 very clear chapters, and each of them will have their own theme, their own characters, their own enemies, their own puzzles, and everything eventually will connect. So all these chapters have their own thing, but it will be part of a complete story where all chapters are connected. And while this is much simpler for us as developers, the game itself will be bigger. We now have a roadmap for all the chapters. We know exactly what needs to happen, we know what the player needs to do to progress, and we know exactly what locations there will be, where the items are placed, and we know where the puzzles will be. Speaking of puzzles, we also have every single puzzle in the game worked out in detail. We have notes to describe the puzzle, we have sketches, we have separated elements and what they look like, where they are, how to find them, etc, etc. Every single step is now written out in detail. And thanks to the roadmap, we also know exactly when they come into play. The same goes for story elements, books, notes, letters, pictures, everything. These are all placed on the roadmap and we know exactly how and when they will work. We know where to put them, and we can see on the roadmap like, oh, we need a little bit more of story element here. Or, there's a lot of story in this part, maybe we should spread it out a little bit more. We now have so much more control, and eventually the game will be bigger, but it's way less complex. And it's way easier for us to build, so you will get a bigger game and we will have an easier task, and this way everybody wins. And with this done and written down, we can start working on the game, and as Michael explained, all levels will be in one project scene, so we can now work on one chapter, and when we get too tired or we are out of inspiration or we're just getting sick of that the same puzzle, we can just leave it and start working on another chapter. And I know how this sounds, but at least the development will keep on going. And for you guys, that also means that we can show you lots of different things, and you're not gonna get bored about one setting and one scene for like 3-4 months on a row. And of course, very important, we will not show you details about the game and we will not show you any spoilers. So rest assured, we will only take one separated thing out of a chapter, like a model or a material or a way of lighting or maybe an atmosphere or something like that, and we will just show it to you separately without any context. So the actual game will be of course a surprise to you all. And we hope that you're just as excited as we are about this new concept. With this in mind, the development will start in January. It will be a new project. We will keep the first level we built, we will keep the foundation we built, but from then everything will be handled as a new project. So, since we all want to enjoy the Christmas and the holidays, to everybody who celebrates Christmas, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. And for those who don't celebrate it, well, we will see you soon in the next year in January. But until then.